starts, just so we don't get a picture in the picture. That works, just minimize it, that's a good idea. Oh, no, otherwise it makes feedback. Thank you.
Very ready. Good evening, everyone. We'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Charles City Community School District Board to order. It is 5:30 p.m. Danielle, could you give us a roll call?
President Kebrick.
Here.
Vice President Mack.
Here.
Board Member Dr. Schroed.
Here.
Member Fox.
Here.
Board Member Yeager. Here.
Thank you. We'll have the reading of the district mission and vision statement, Dr. Schroed.
Our mission is to challenge all students to achieve their full potential through engaging, responsive educational experiences that inspire innovation, critical thinking, and collaboration. Our vision is to develop learners who are competent, compassionate problem solvers.
Thank you. I will take motions for approval or amendment to the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. We can move on to the welcome to visitors. Do we have any public comment? No one? Is there anyone here that wants to make public comment? I will ask. Someone walked in after we pulled the sheet. Seeing none, we can move on to the good news. Mr. Miller, that's you.
Presentation ready to roll? Oh, yeah, let me share it real quick. Nope, sounds good. Second tab. I'm sharing the good news. Usually it's just me, but the good news to share is that we have students that are invested in our schools and community. So each student at the beginning of the year was asked to, on October 13th, if they'd like to volunteer and come up and share why they believe the high school could be worked on in terms of its infrastructure and being renovated, and share the student experience, what they feel, what they see on a daily basis. So each student that I've asked today and has stepped up and volunteered. Some students had some stuff pop up. I got two students that wanted to be here playing volleyball. One student that had to be at football warmups. You know, our kids lead busy lives. So with that being said, each student is going to present 5 reasons why they believe the high school should be renovated. And then afterwards, they have, after their 5 points, kind of a picture. And that's of a different location in the high school. And they want to kind of share a little bit of a story connected with each one of those pictures. So again, this is them. We got Charlie Sweet, Joy Williams, Vivian Soifer, Paige Pickar, and Fiona Pittman. And they're just going to go one by one. And I told them after each one of them, if you'd like to ask any questions, you're more than welcome to. So I'm just going to turn the table over to the voices that matter most.
Hi, my name is Charlie Sweet, and my first reason is climate. We can all agree the high school is a very hot place. Sometimes it can be hot, sometimes it can be. We need to better control that with climate control. AC, heating, whatever, we just need to control it way better. Most days I'll be in the middle of my class sweating because it is so hot. And look at the past 5 years, how many days have we got out of school early because of the heat? I think we'd rather be in school having our students learn. My second reason is plumbing. Just recently, we've had a issue with plumbing that caused the Camet Cafe to go down and we couldn't do it that day. If I were one of the students, I'd be very disappointed. I know some of the students, they were very disappointed. And teachers, they probably didn't have much that day. They had to think of something that was on the spot, right? That might not be good. My third reason is time. Let's use the lunch as an example. We only have one kitchen here, and it's in the high school, and we need to cook all our food here for every single school. We need to move it from the high school to the middle school. And with what we have to do, putting into the parts in taking it out, if we have to go all the way from the kitchen down this way and then to the middle school lunch lines, that takes too much time. That's why in this say yes, this bond, we need to add a hallway going to the middle school, so it would be done faster. My fourth reason is our gym. Our gym, it served us well in years past, but it's not what we need. We need a better gymnasium. I feel like it's kind of embarrassing to host events there, because like it's so old. My fifth reason is lockers. I myself have a decent locker, but I assume some of my peers might not have the best locker. Because I've noticed personally that some lockers, most of the numbers are faded, you can't see them at all. So most students have to leave their locker open at all times, because otherwise they can't get into it. Slide, please. This first thing you see when you're walking, this is our cafeteria. Cafeteria, one of the hottest places in the school, and especially during lunchtime when you have all the ovens running and everything. It's really hot. I walk in and I'm just sweating. I'm sweating. Next slide, please. This is our gymnasium. It has served us well. A story that I have with the gym, and I played basketball on this for the past 2 years with middle school. I remember I was at a volleyball game and the seats are broken on those bleachers right there. I cut myself open on one of the things. I think that is a big thing that needs to be fixed. And the floor, it's not in the best shape. And it's just kind of embarrassing to host events there. It's old and we need to get fixed up. Thank you. So,
Okay, I'm Joy. I'm a freshman here. But I've been to the high school for a lot of years because first of all, I've been in middle school and then my mom works here too, so I'm in here a lot. But the first thing I want to talk about is climate control, like Charlie said. It's really hot in here. My freshman year, it's not looking good. I really don't ever want to be here because it's really hot. And like the first week of school, I had to have a handheld fan, and because it was so hot, and whenever the teachers would open the windows, there was no breeze, so it was kind of like, or now that they open the windows, it's like freezing in there because the breeze is just yeah. But the second thing I want to talk about is the lockers. The lockers are pretty old and you can't really see the numbers on there, so it kind of takes a little bit of time. And they get jammed a lot, so we have to get the janitor, and it's just, yeah. And the gym, okay, the gym is really like old and it probably looked good back, back when it was new, but like now it's kind of like, and we have to switch events, like the high school events are obviously kind of more important than the middle school events, so we have to like switch because the middle school is way better and it just looks better, and and then the middle schoolers have to be in the hot gym and there's one side of bleachers and it's just really cramped in there. And my fourth reason is an updated look, because if you compare the middle school to the high school, you can tell like which one is older, and then like in the inside too, like just like in general, like the look. But yeah, I think it just needs to look better. And then 5 is the ceilings. The ceilings are really bad because whenever I walk to class, like I see a random trash can and I see water coming out of the ceilings, and it's just like that doesn't look good at all. And then for some of the ceilings, I can't really see anything in here, but they're like water, like, and it's just, yes, but yeah. Next slide, please. But I want to speak more about the lockers, because as you can see in the picture, you can't see the numbers at all, and they get jammed a lot. So which causes you to be late for class, then you have to go get the janitor if you need something in your locker. Or you go to class unprepared, and that like takes off points because you're unprepared and you don't have the things that you need for class. So it either makes you late or unprepared, and that's just not what we need, so, yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Vivian Swiper and I am a junior. I know we have talked a lot about the heating and cooling, but once again, I walked in today to my English class in Mr. Holman's room. And it honestly, I don't want to be in there ever because it is so hot. And then you walk across the hallway, down the hallway to the music wing, and it is freezing cold. And so it's like you want to bring a jacket and you have to take it off, and it's just not fun. And then outdated everything. So as some have been talking about the gym, another point I want to touch on is that is not wheelchair accessible. So the handicapped, they can't get in there to the top. And for volleyball games, you obviously have to tuck the bleachers in, so you can't get up to the top. And then last year, when they turned on the boilers, you could smell the radiators in the boilers. It smelled like rotten eggs all over the school, which obviously is not something we want to be smelling, but we also don't want our guests to be smelling that as the first thing they see and smell in the high school. And then, as Joyce said, leaks in our ceiling, there are watermarks all over our ceiling. The fuzzy ceilings, it's literally falling off. So you can see in the morning, sometimes there'll be just like debris of the ceiling on the floor. And then the asbestos, obviously in the floor, is a major health risk. And although it's not a huge problem at this time, if we let it go on much longer, it could definitely become a huge risk. Next slide. And then back to the ceilings, I remember distinctly my freshman year coming from the middle school and how nice that was, temperature control and accessibility. And then coming down to right out here, actually, I would walk every day to my science class and I would have to avoid the huge trash cans in the hallway, or I would have the water coming down on my head and I had to try to dodge water coming down from the ceiling. So those are just kind of my main points on why we need to renovate for safety, health, and just overall comfort.
Okay, my name is Paige Pickar and I'm a junior with Vivian. And so my first point is plumbing, and we already touched on this, but the girls' bathroom, it's 50-50, half of their sinks work and half of them don't. And I've never been in the boys' bathroom, but I'm assuming it's basically the same, which is gross. You don't want to have to try 8 different sinks before you get one that works. And they smell. Oh my gosh, they smell so bad. And that's along with the Comic Cafe that got shut down because we had it back up. That's gross. That's disgusting. The second one is ADA compliance. We're having more and more kids with wheelchairs, crutches, walkers. It's not safe for them. The doorways are too small, too short. I've seen a lot of dads hit their heads on the ceilings. Not my dad, he's kind of short. But most dads, grandpas, they hit their heads on the ceilings and it's not fun. For them, I imagine. Again, I'm not that tall. And the school safety, aside from hitting your head on the ceilings, it's also when they built this building, they didn't take into consideration the issues of today's society. And the circles aren't safe. He's mentioned before that he can't see more than 10 feet in front of you in the circles. You have to have 8 cameras to get every single vantage point in the circle. The doors don't lock right. We have wooden doors. And the metal doors out here just got fixed because there was a wiring issue. So they locked automatically, and that was a hassle to get fixed. And then temperature control, we've talked way too much about this, but it is so true. You never know when it's gonna be hot or cold. We have foreign exchange students here, from Brazil. And she thinks this is normal for her, cause she's under the equator. That's not supposed to be normal for us. You know, and when I complain that we have no air conditioning, that's okay. But when she says this is normal, that's not okay. That's really not. And it's outdated and unappealing. So, yeah, it's not all about aesthetically pleasing. I mean, the treehouse in the middle school looks nice, but it was also pricey. But it's not just about aesthetic pleasure, it's also about comfort. I gave tours at the first bond referendum meeting. And we were in places I don't typically go, such as the band wing or opening cupboards in the art room under the sinks. And then I woke up the next day with an allergic reaction to the mold, mildew, and dust. Which is unfortunate because that's my school and I attend it every day. Yeah, so this is the art room and it doesn't look like it because yeah, there's a lot of dust from the clay and that's kind of, you can't get around that. It's just, yeah. But under the sinks, that's a buildup of all the dust and mixed with the leakage from the pipes, that creates a lot of mold and mildew. And I mean, the pictures don't show it too great, but if you get up close and personal with it, you smell it. And it's not a fun smell. It's gross. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm senior, I'm Fiona Pittman, so I'm going last, so you get to hear a lot of the same things again. But first off, our heat and AC, obviously we don't have AC, and that is just not up to modern education standards. Which, like, we go to any school for any sports and they usually have AC. And then we have our heat, and you guys have all been high schoolers, you know, high schoolers are sweaty and smelly. It gets pretty rank in some rooms, especially if teachers have their own equipment, like my dad works out in the morning, then he has sweaty stuff. And so rooms can get really smelly and really hot, and there's no way to alleviate it. Another thing is, it's embarrassing to have events here. We should not have to move high school events to the middle school as it is high school. I would imagine if I was from a different town and I was told, oh, this game is at Charles City, I'm gonna pull up to the high school front doors unless it says specifically middle school or like Comet Gym, something to the sort. And we should not have to do that. It should be our main event source. Another point is that the costs of keeping it up are not worth it. Our janitors work day in and day out to keep the building up. And it's just not worth it because if you guys were, let's say, hit a deer, your car is just slightly damaged, but it's not really, the repairs aren't worth the cost of damage. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna buy a new car and it's gonna last you longer and do better. We're not doing that with the building currently, and it's something that needs to happen. Another point is that the conditions of the school have ruined events for kids. Most recently it was the Common Cafe, which I'll talk more about later. And another one is air quality and asbestos. Obviously, we know there's asbestos in the floors and other places because of when the school was built and the tools being used. And it's not really impacting everyone now, but if you look at the floors, you can see bubbles coming up. So there's no way that asbestos isn't getting in the air or in students' breathing systems, respiratory system. The other thing is air quality. If you walk around the school, you can smell different smells coming from either water sources or heaters, just everything is not up to par. So next slide. This is our culinary FCS classroom where we recently tried to host a Comet Cafe. And I'm not in the Comet Cafe, but most of my peers are because it's a senior heavy class. And so a lot of my classes were empty that day, but then suddenly I was in Mrs. McKegg's room, very sweaty, and I hear a lot of my classmates coming down the hall. I'm like, oh, they must have got a break from cooking, but then they come in and they're like fully distraught over the fact that their Comet Cafe was canceled. because there was a water leak in one of the sinks and there was tubs of brown water getting hauled out of the classroom. And that day, $600 worth of food is thrown away. So that really shows how the school negatively impacts kids mentally and physically and with their education. So all in all, the school needs lots of repairs and lots of things to be fixed for safety and education. Thank you.
I have a quick question for that.
Yep,
So they could
come
come
on,
back up.
guys.
Great. Thanks, appreciate it. All yours. Everybody involved. So if I look across you, there's one senior and the rest of you are juniors, right? Freshman, sorry. You're so tall, I just. Other than you as a freshman, so you would be the only person in this group that would be. Sorry, thank you so much. I'm terrible at this. You two would be the only two that would actually benefit if we do the bond, right? The rest of you would be graduated before we did it though. So just want to point that out that you came on your own, you are advocating for this building, most of you.
Yeah, and I have a brother who's in 4th grade and I have a brother who is in 8th grade. And I don't want them to have to go through the same daily struggles I have to go through.
Thank you, brother. Oh, my gosh.
How many of you have to jam your locker routinely? I hear that from pretty much every
Yeah.
school student.
It's
They jam their locker because it's easier than trying to get your combo to work.
And they don't even give the big nice ones to seniors anymore.
Both you were gonna talk about if you wanna.
You have to write the school board a letter.
No, for real, you guys all did a wonderful job.
Thank you.
And it's not easy to talk to people, and so I appreciate you guys.
And just to conclude, wonderful group of students. We wish we could add more here, but students lead busy lives. The good news is, again, we have students that care about their school, care about the community, the future of Charles City. I wanted you to kind of see it from their point of view of what they experience on a daily basis. Part of hopefully getting this place renovated is to clear distractions and make a more comfortable learning environment. And again, great group of kids. We have good kids. We have good people. Thank you.
We can now move on to motions for the consent.
Motion that we approve the consent agenda. It's listed.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Now move on to the administrator, director, and superintendent.
Oh, I'd like to thank Rotary and the Lions Club for hosting their meetings out here this week. And so today Rotary met and we started in the STEM room. And then Mr. Miller, we got sandwiches from Dave's. Dave's brought in some lunch for us. And then and that's part of Rotary's lunch. We didn't feed Rotary, but they were gracious enough to have their meeting out here. And then Mr. Miller organized the tour. We had some students along on the tour. Some of the same students who presented tonight and some different students. And it was really great. Rotary asked a lot of good questions and they seemed, very interested in turning out to vote and raising awareness of the concerns that they saw. On Friday, we're fortunate to have the Lions Club having their meeting here also. And so they are going to do school lunch, which we're excited about. So they're going to go through our school lunch line and have that experience and then have a tour. And so we're looking forward to the 25 Lions Club members coming to join us. And then we also had a great experience last Monday with, I want to make sure I get it right. It's the chapter JQ PEO. And that was at the library. And so that was enjoyable to go down and have a chance to present. I want to thank Emily Gardner for Garden. She's a part of that chapter. So she helped me co-present. And it was really engaging, wonderful questions and dialogue. And so I do think that there's a lot of interest in voting from that group also. So that was a good meeting too. Let's see, we have great community organizations. I want to thank their members for helping and asking good questions to make informed decisions around the election. Also want to thank Morgan Montaigne, the county auditor, for help with the district to complete the process for satellite voting for the upcoming election. We are on October 28th and 30th, going to have satellite voting at Washington Elementary, Lincoln Elementary, and the middle school. And that's all they could, we got petitions for 4, so we had 152 signatures within 24 hours to have all 4 sites. But they can only find so many staff members. And so I was gracious. It was gracious of her to staff 2 sites in the same precinct, which would be the middle school in Lincoln. And then Washington, they're also going to find staff for. And it's an absentee process. It'll be during our conferences. So it'll be that Tuesday, Thursday, the 28th and the 30th. On the 28th, it's going to go from 2 to 8 o'clock. And then on the 30th, it'll be just the conference hours, 3:30 to 7:30. And so all community members are welcome, but we do think it's going to provide our parents a nice opportunity to vote in the election. So then just a reminder, October 22nd, we have one more community meeting with the architect. And I thought the one on the 8th went really well last week. We had great input, some nice dialogue, and then we offered a lot of tours afterwards. Just take a ballpark. I think we probably have offered 250 tours. What do you think, Mr. Miller, for people? Probably around 250 people come through.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that number is growing. So the Lions Club members will put us up a little higher. And then we're still doing tours on Friday mornings. So encourage people if they want to come on a Friday morning or just schedule a tour. We're willing to do it any day of the week. So,
And for anybody that wants an individualized tour, they're encouraged to reach out to the high school office and we'll make time either during school, after school, whatever works.
Well, that was that concludes my superintendent report.
JQ.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The 2 branches. Thank you. And so I'm guessing maybe it was named after the charter member or something, or the charter. Okay. So no, never.
Nope, they won't, they'll never come.
Just for the clarification for everyone, the satellite voting is a full ballot. It's not just the bond vote, it's a full.
Absolutely, and it's an absentee ballot, and there's a secure ballot box with workers from the polling place.
Thank you. We can now move on to committee reports. Any committees meet?
We did have a policy committee in that. There was a lot of annual updates, and then we had just some recommendations that came through from IASB. Not a whole lot of real significant changes. One point of interest, the Office of Civil Rights closed. They would close that in Chicago under the Department of Education. So now we had to change our document, one of our policies, to read Denver. That is the nearest office now. So for the Office of Civil Rights, if anyone wants to express a concern about something. So we have that policy for first reading tonight.
Good. We can now move on to new business items. Start with set the date, time, and place for a public hearing on the expenditure of the school flexibility funds. One of you'd like to give a quick rundown on that? Take a motion.
Yeah, so, the first piece is the transfer of the flexibility funds. The category goes into the flexibility fund. And they're listed below the teacher leadership supplement, professional development, statewide voluntary preschool and homeschool assistance. And there's the dollar amounts there, and then we have to, do a public hearing to expend those dollars out of the flex funds. Yeah.
We'll take motions from.
So essentially, just to clarify, you're taking money from monies that are specifically for those programs to be used in a more general capacity.
In the general fund for, teachers' salaries, benefits.
Even the final sentence of that description also says, because the obligations of those programs have been met. So it's not like they're being underfunded for the sake of this. Everything that they needed has been met.
Yep.
Everybody uses.
That was what I was wondering. That's why I didn't figure out what the actual motion is now.
I'll make a motion to request to approve the resolution to consider approving transfer of funds to the flexibility account within the general fund expenditures and setting hearing on proposed resolution approving expenditure of funds in the flexibility account for salaries and other general fund purposes in fiscal year 26.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we can proceed to vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Now move on to approval of SBRC request for allowable growth for special education deficit. Dr. Burnett, you want to give a quick run?
Sure, so the special education deficit continues to shrink, and so I believe it was 1.2 million the year before I got here. Last year was 600,000. Yeah, 660. This year is $190,895. I think we are improving on our coding of systems. I would anticipate it would go up a little next year because we found more special education teachers. But certainly we want to be mindful because although it's allowable, it does pass on, in many cases, a tax to the voters. And so we want to make sure that when we levy that cash for that authority, then that does pass on a tax to the voters. And so we want to make sure we're mindful of that. So it is good that we are keeping an eye on that, and it's good to see that, being a healthy number. So this just gives us authority. So we're asking the board to just approve that door authority.
Take motions from the floor.
Just like it says.
Yep.
Then I'll make a motion that the SBRC request for allowable growth for special education deficit in the amount of $190,085.80.
Properly moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? I just want to add, there's a big pat on the back that we've come from 1.4 million to 190,000.
Very well.
If there's any other further discussion,
You do the math, Bruce?
let's,
Quick math.
could, but not that quick. We can proceed to vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. Can I move on to the SBRC application for EL excess cost spending authority?
And this is similar, only this is specifically for the English language learner students. And so in the past, we had a bit of a larger number again. And so this is just a reduction in that number. Also, we're closer to what we received in funds from the state. So the deficit is $2,172.58. So that's also less money that you would levy cash for.
Take motions from the floor.
Make a motion that we approve the application to the school budget review committee in the amount of $2,172.58 for excess English learner costs for the year ending June 30, 2025.
I'll second.
It's been properly moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we can proceed to vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion will carry. Moving on, we'll discuss frontline comparative analytics subscriptions.
So this is a product, and we use Frontline for several things, and we actually approved a few more, HR, onboarding and a resource for organizing employee data and having online, even the ability to do online contract signing and those kind of things next year. That was some of the additions we made with Frontline over the summer. I've been looking at this product for a couple of years. And so this second year I sat through the information they provided and was really impressed. They do things like you compare almost any available data to other districts around you. And so if somebody was outperforming us and had some similar demographics, that could easily jump out. And so that would be a good place for me to start conversations about have they figured something out that we need to do better. In addition to that, it'll do salary comparisons across all areas. So we can see if we're in line with what the market rate is for salaries. It also does a great job of making graphics that are easy to understand and graphing data. One of the things that struck me too was they look at birth rates by zip code, and then they project that forward to kindergarten enrollment and preschool enrollment. And I thought, well, that's really valuable too. So we really, like next year, it's supposed to be higher in kindergarten. But I don't know that our preschool numbers are quite showing that bump, but in our preschool initiative, but it is supposed to be higher because the birth rate was higher correspondingly, I guess, 4 years ago. And so then those would be the kindergartners next year, 5. And so they have some nice tools like that also. And so it's pretty reasonable as far as for a software edition goes, $3,931 for this year since the year's underway. And then $5,929 for the following year. I also like the fact that it does a really nice job of 5 years budgeting projections. Similar to we attend the training with ISPIS. And so we have one tool that gives us a 5-year outlook. But I know several superintendents look at both tools and find that that's very helpful. So that's my recommendation, is that we approve the initial cost and then the following fee for the following years. And then that would come, if the board approves it, then it'll come as a signature document to the board president. So
Take a motion from the floor.
Make a motion that we approve the agreement with Frontline Education for the addition of Frontline Central and applicant tracking for additional costs of $3,931.01, followed by $5,929 for following years.
I'll second.
Been properly moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? This is something that Dr. Knight's talked to me a handful of times. From what I've seen with his analytics alone, he's gonna make it pay for itself rather quickly, like we've seen with the special things. So these two have done phenomenal work when it comes to numbers and students and all that stuff. So we can now proceed to vote if there's no further discussion. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same side. Motion will carry. Now move on to board policy.
So there's a wide variety of policies, and they are really annual policy reviews for their second reading for the most part. And then the Iowa School Board Association, looks at law updates and changes, and then makes some recommendations to existing policies. Those are the first reading examples. And then we have the one policy that changed its location to for the Office of Civil Rights, since the Chicago office is no longer around.
I'll make a motion to approve the board policies as presented.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we can proceed to vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same side. Motion will carry. Now move on to board comments. May I have a board comment?
Hey, you're about to put off.
Do you?
Yeah, I'd like to talk.
I'm just gonna say, I'm looking really forward to, I'm looking forward to my daughter's getting excited for national convention. There's lots of good things in the community. I know there's a torn opinion on the bond right now, but it has inspired a lot of conversation, a lot of insight into the school. No matter which way you look at it, I like people to be informed. Come check it out. We are gonna offer a tour. If anybody wants to stick around for a tour this evening, I'll also be here at 4:30 on Thursday for a tour with Mr. Lundberg. If somebody wants to come and ask questions, then.
So. Couple of things. So I think Bruce did a nice job of just kind of putting up, tours. If you have a thought, for or against, and you have an interest in understanding, you really come and take a tour before you make a decision. Against the bond, just so you understand what it is that we're asking for and what it is we're gonna do. The other thing I would say is, our school lunch was brought up a little bit by Dr. Burnite. If you're, I think this is our last year for this particular contract, and so we're gonna be putting that contract out again or renewing what we have at some point. So you should ask your kids what they think of our school lunch, if they like it, they think they have enough food, they don't like chicken or whatever, I don't know. Just so we can get some feedback before we make that decision. And then the last thing I'll say is, those people who are in PTO, do a phenomenal job of really engaging with our school and being a big part of helping us do things. They're working on a carnival, and if you want to help them, I'd encourage you to reach out to your TO representative or go to one of their meetings, and give them some assistance. So Travis, I hope that makes it in your article. Thanks, buddy. That's all I got.
Anybody else? Take a motion for adjournment.
Okay.
Properly moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thanks, guys.
When's the carnival?
So I think end of January.